Obamagate strikes again. Sorry, guys, I know that was a shitty lead-in, but I couldn't resist. All right, so, from the Daily Caller here. Strzok notes in Michael Flynn case make cryptic reference to Biden-Obama, lawyers say. Now, I love this topic. Now, anybody who has been following me for any length of time, and by any length of time, I mean short time, because I've only been doing this for a short time, but anybody who's seen episode 6 of Revved Up, I did a whole episode on Obamagate. I love this stuff. I love the stuff about Michael Flynn and everything that's been going on behind the scenes there. I think some indictments are going to be coming. At least I hope and I pray that they will be. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. So let's go ahead and start with the bullet points here. Lawyers for Michael Flynn released notes that former FBI agent Peter Strzok took during a White House meeting in early January 2017. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the whole Michael Flynn case, Peter and who Peter Strzok is. Peter Strzok was the FBI agent who I think it was in the might have been the WikiLeaks dump. Anyways, a couple years ago, some text messages between him and FBI lawyer Lisa Page, who they were both married but having an affair. They were texting each other back and forth, and she was all worried about the possibility of a Trump presidency, and he responded, "Oh, don't worry about it. We have an insurance policy." Basically admitting that they had some tricks up their sleeves if Trump were to win. And 4 years later, we can see that they had more than one trick up their sleeve. Several riots and burned buildings later, we realize those tricks are particular dirty tricks. But anyways, so yeah, that's who Peter Strzok was. Disgraced already, but and let's see. You know, I don't want to go too far ahead here because I don't want to cover things that are going to be talked about in here. So let me go through this, and then any context type things that are not put in here, I'll go ahead and add in case it needs to clear anything up, because I've been following this case pretty closely. Like I said, I did a 35-minute episode on it. So, all right, let's see. The notes show that Strzok wrote down VP Logan Act, which Flynn's lawyers say show that Biden raised an obscure law that the FBI used to justify an investigation of Michael Flynn. Biden has denied any involvement in investigations against Flynn, saying only that he was aware that the retired general was the target of an FBI probe. Flynn's lawyers released the notes just after federal appeals court ordered a judge to drop the case against former Trump national security advisor. So much that I want to talk about there, but like I said, I don't want to jump the gun on the article. So let's go ahead and get into this. Oh yeah, also, before we get into this, go ahead, don't forget to like, comment, share. Really sharing is the best thing you can do. Just get the word out to other people, let people get this information. But please subscribe, hit the notification bell. And also don't forget to follow me on other social media. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Parler now, @RamThorburn. So go ahead and follow me there. And if you would like to support the channel, I've got links to my PayPal, Patreon, and Subscribestar listed below. I can't even remember all these sites. The social media has gotten so big. It's you got to have like a whole Rolodex in your head just to remember doing the shameless plugs. But anyways, so let's go ahead and get into this. Michael Flynn's lawyers on Wednesday released a handwritten memo that former FBI official Peter Strzok purportedly took during a White House meeting in early January 2017, which Flynn's attorney argues shows that President Barack Obama and Vice President Joe Biden directed an investigation into former Trump national security advisor Michael Flynn. The Justice Department revealed the existence of the notes in a court filing Tuesday. Michael R. Sherwin, the acting U.S. attorney for Washington, D.C., said that Strzok, who served as deputy chief of counterintelligence, likely took the notes between January 3rd and January 5th, 2017. That would have been when the infamous the meeting was. I think it was January 5th. January 5th was the meeting. January 4th was the day that January 4th was the day that Strzok kept Crossfire Razor alive. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. All right. On January 5th, 2017, then FBI Director James Comey met at the White House with Obama, Biden, then Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates, and then National Security Advisor Susan Rice. The officials discussed Flynn during the meeting, according to an email that Rice wrote to herself more than 2 weeks later. Now that was really funny because it happened the day that Trump was supposed to take office. She went and wrote herself an email that said over and over again that the investigation was by the books. Because remember, Hillary Clinton was never supposed to lose. And so they were trying to sink Trump's presidency once he did win. And so she was trying to cover her ass. It was a very, very feeble attempt to cover her ass. And it actually made her look guilty. You know, who sends themselves an email that says over and over again that they did things by the books? It's almost like you didn't do things by the books. And you're sending yourself an sketchy nonetheless. All right. President Donald Trump and his supporters have recently suggested that Obama and Biden were involved in the FBI's investigation into Flynn and the Trump campaign than previously known. Or were more involved than previously known. Trump coined the term obamagate and accused his predecessor of directing the biggest political crime in American history. And it is the biggest political crime in American history, and it needs to be prosecuted as such. It should be treason. Should be treason. All right. Days before the January 2017 White House meeting, Flynn had spoken by phone with then Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak. Flynn would later plead guilty to making false statements to the FBI regarding his conversation with Kislyak, but the retired general retracted that admission of guilt on January 29th, triggering a series of events that led to the dismissal of his case on Wednesday. Now, the reason, you're going to hear a lot of people say, like, oh, well, if he was innocent, then why did he plead guilty? For one, if you're going to make that argument, like, you either are dumb or you're playing dumb. Because that kind of stuff happens all the time in our legal system. You know, they pressure you with a bigger crime that doesn't necessarily fit what you did and say, cop to the smaller crime or we're going to give you, 10 years in prison. And also what they don't mention here is that they actually went after his family. They went after his son. And so he pleaded guilty to get them off of his son's case and then also just basically to not be harassed by them anymore. Just swallow the pill, get it over with, and live out the rest of your life. Okay. The content and the context of Strzok's handwritten notes are hard to discern. They're not actually that hard to discern. But Flynn's lawyers called the document further stunning and exculpatory evidence that was previously withheld from Flynn. And that was another reason why why Flynn withdrew his guilty plea, was that it came to light that the FBI, the prosecutors, had withheld exculpatory evidence showing that he was innocent. They had withheld that from his attorneys, from his legal team. That if he had known that exculpatory evidence existed, he would have known that he could have won in court. He could have proven that he was innocent, which really, it should be on them to prove that he's guilty. Innocent until proven guilty. That's the deep state for you. They're the ones behind the cultural Marxism and globalist efforts because they're selling out America and selling us out to China because China's the model. I'm gonna say that in every damn video. I'm gonna talk about that in every damn video because people need to watch that. People need to see it. People need to look into it. All right. So on one line, Strzok wrote VP Logan Act, which lawyers said suggests that Biden brought up the Logan Act, an obscure law that prohibits private American citizens from negotiating with foreign governments on the U.S.'s behalf. Now, they say it's obscure because guess how many people have ever been convicted under the Logan Act? A grand whopping 0. And the Logan Act also essentially became obsolete. It became archaic with the invention of the damn telephone. Alexander Graham Bell knocked that law into obscurity way back in, 1905? I don't know. Maybe that's the radio. No, that was 1895. I don't know. Either way, whenever the telephone was invented, that is when this law became irrelevant. Because at that point, anybody could just pick up the phone and say, hey, is this person really representing you? Before that, like I said, you couldn't communicate so easily. You had to send people overseas, which took months at a time. So it was easy for somebody to maybe go over and falsely represent the government. But with the invention of the telephone, all they have to do is pick up and verify the credentials. Logan Act irrelevant. All right. So another line quotes a person referred to as P, a possible reference to President Obama. And by possible, I think what they mean is almost guaranteed. Let's see. Saying that he wanted the right people on it. Okay, so let me rewrite that line reread that line because I interrupted. Another line quotes a person referred to as P, a possible reference to President Obama saying that he wanted the right people on it, meaning that Biden Obama was actually directing this whole thing. He was overseeing it. He had a hands-on role in the biggest political crime in American history. All right. Flynn's lawyers said that the note shows that Mr. Obama himself directed that the right people investigate General Flynn. According to Strzok's notes, it appears that Vice President Biden personally raised the idea of the Logan Act. That became an admitted pretext to investigate General Flynn, the attorneys wrote in a filing. So we have Joe Biden coming up with an obscure, irrelevant, and archaic law that nobody's ever been prosecuted under as an idea for taking down the incoming national security advisor. Now, a lot of people are wondering, why would they want to take down Flynn? Now, you gotta realize Flynn's history with Obama. I think from 2011 to 2014, I believe it was, he was the head of one of the intelligence agencies, and he was constantly undermining Barack Obama. So Barack Obama fired him, and it was very acrimonious. I mean, Obama despised Flynn because Flynn undermined his supreme authority or whatever. So he got rid of he got rid of Flynn, and then when Trump won, he highly advised against Trump bringing in Flynn. I wonder why that is. It's because Flynn knows where all the bodies are buried in the Obama, Brennan, and Clapper intelligence swamp. He knows their dirty deeds, so they had to get rid of him. They had to get rid of him. He was a threat to them. He was a threat to the deep state. He was a threat to their plans to run this whole Russiagate, the Ukrainian investigation. Hell, you can even go to the COVID response and the riots at this point. I mean, they've been throwing everything at the American people, trying to maintain their power and trying to escape conviction for the crimes that they have committed. All right. So here we actually have the notes, and you can see that Peter Strzok has absolute chicken scratch for handwriting. But you can see right here, VP Logan Act. P, these are unusual times. VP, I've been on the Intel Committee for 10 years and I never. P, that's President. Make sure you look at things and have the right people on it. P, is there anything I shouldn't be filling the transition team? So he was actually looking to withhold information, national security information. I couldn't even venture to guess exactly what all information he was implying, but he was talking about breaking the handoff from one administration to the next. So D, and I believe that's Director Comey. So Flynn, I can't read that word. Calls but appear legit. So he's saying that the calls appeared legit. So Director Comey was even saying that the call between Michael Flynn and Sergei Kislyak did seem legit. And they still wanted to go after him. And then Happy New Year. Yeah, you guys are going to have a lot of Happy New Years in behind bars. All right, so let's continue with this article. Flynn's attorneys filed the document just as federal appeals court Judge Emmett Sullivan. Wait, hold on. Flynn's attorneys. Sorry, I can't read. I'm so excited about this. Honestly, these notes are coming out, and the people are being implicated almost beyond a shadow of a doubt at this point. Flynn's attorneys filed the document just as a federal appeals court ordered Judge Emmett Sullivan to dismiss charges against Flynn. The Justice Department filed a motion May 7th to drop the case against Flynn, but Sullivan was seeking to force prosecutors to explain the decision in a series of hearings. Now, this Emmett Flynn, this guy is a dirty deep stater too, because after the DOJ, so you had this exculpatory evidence come out, and Flynn all of a sudden wanted to retract his guilty plea. And when the DOJ, the Department of Justice, who was prosecuting the case, actually moved to drop it, Sullivan tried to say no. He actually tried to take over the role of the prosecutor. A judge is supposed to be impartial in legal matters, and he tried to tell the DOJ that they couldn't drop a case. It's not his job to do that. So even still, he's trying to hold on because as far as my best guess is, he had marching orders from probably Obama himself or somebody connected to Obama or somebody involved in this whole scandal. And so and that's another thing about Flynn's case being dismissed. He's had a gag order on him the whole time. So once his case is officially dismissed, it hasn't been official yet, but everything's in place for the paperwork to be filed for him to be dismissed. Once that gag order is lifted, he can talk about everything, not just what happened with the fake case against him. He can talk about what happened under the Obama administration when he worked in intelligence there. So they've got a lot to worry about. They had very strong reasons to take Flynn out. And it looks like they have finally, after, 4 years now, they finally failed. All right. Let's see. Where was I? Biden has acknowledged that he was aware of an ongoing investigation into Flynn before he left office, but he has downplayed his involvement in the probe. I was aware that they asked for an investigation, but that's all I knew about it, Biden told ABC's George Stephanopoulos in a May 12th interview. George Stephanopoulos used to work for the Clinton administration. Yeah, no dirty ties there, huh? A day after the Biden interview, Republican senators released declassified documents which showed that Biden was among dozens of other Obama-era officials to make requests for intelligence reports that made reference to Flynn. I remember some of them were like Department of Treasury. What the hell is Department of Treasury doing looking into unmasking Michael Flynn for security matters? It's insane. I mean, it's so dirty. It was such a coordinated effort. Biden made the so-called unmasking request on January 12, 2017, a week after the White House meeting where the Logan Act was raised. Biden has yet to face questions about why he made the request to unmask Flynn's identity in intelligence reports. Well, I think he's going to be facing questions. It's going to be in a hearing. It's going to be in front of the Senate, maybe even a military tribunal. I'd like to see that. All right. A day before the meeting, the FBI's Washington field office had recommended that the Bureau close a counterintelligence investigation into Flynn's possible ties with Russia. The memo said that there was no evidence that Flynn was working covertly with the Kremlin. Of course there wasn't. I mean, Comey even said the call seemed legit. But he still played along, so it's going to be steel bracelets for him too. The FBI had opened an investigation of Flynn and other Trump associates in August 2016. Now, if you go back and you look at my episode 6 of Revved Up, where I talk about this case, you're going to see how all of that investigation was predicated on similar dirty deeds. With Paul Manafort, Carter Page, and George Papadopoulos, all dirty deep state setups. And it's provable. It's proven. Strzok directed the probe called Crossfire Hurricane. Documents released in Flynn's criminal case show that Strzok intervened at the last minute on January 4th, 2017 to keep open the investigation of Flynn. Yeah, and really, if you guys haven't watched that episode, go back and watch that episode. It'll give you all of these details and all of the context that it goes into. This article is good, but it doesn't give you the whole story because it is so much information. It's a 35-minute video, but it's worth the watch. The FBI wanted to keep the investigation open because investigators had just received a transcript of Flynn's call with Kislyak, which occurred December 29, 2016. FBI emails show that Strzok and his colleagues began discussing the Logan Act. The investigation into Flynn's call with Kislyak geared up on January 12, 2017, when Washington Post columnist David Ignatius reported that a senior U.S. government official revealed that Flynn had spoken with Kislyak by phone. So they were leaking all of this to the media, too. So they weren't just unmasking for their own edification or their own purpose. They were leaking it so that they could give it to the press and start a media hailstorm about Russian collusion. This is where it all began. Ignatius raised the possibility that Flynn and Kislyak discussed U.S. sanctions against Russia. The columnist suggested that such a conversation might violate the Logan Act, which has been on the books since 1799 and has never been successfully prosecuted. Now, this is what's interesting, because you have a reporter mentioning the Logan Act after we had Biden mentioning the Logan Act. So you can see the coordination between deep state actors and the media, because there's no way in hell that it's a coincidence that some obscure law that nobody's ever been convicted under gets brought up in this meeting between Obama and his power players, and then a journalist writing about it. Nobody's going to make that. Nobody's even heard of the Logan Act before this. David Ignatius probably never heard about that Logan Act before we had a conversation with probably Biden. Or whoever it was that he got the leaked information from. So, let's see. In response to Ignatius' report, Mike Pence, the incoming vice president, said in a January 15th, 2017 interview that Flynn did not discuss sanctions against Russia with Kislyak. Top FBI officials seized on Pence's denial to arrange an interview with Flynn on January 24th, 2017. Then Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe arranged for Strzok and FBI Special Agent Joe Pienka to interview Flynn at the White House. McCabe wrote in a memo after his phone call with Flynn that he had convinced the National Security Advisor to conduct the interview without a lawyer present. In fact, they didn't even let him know that he was the subject of the investigation. They didn't even let him, Flynn was not even aware when he went into this meeting that they were looking at him for anything. They thought he just thought he was helping out the FBI with something about Russia. Seemed like he was trying to do the right thing, and they fucked him for it. All right. Investigators were torn on whether Flynn lied in the interview. Comey told the House Intelligence Committee on March 2nd, 2017, that he was not sure whether Flynn lied about his phone call with Kislyak. Now, first of all, he wasn't even aware that he was under investigation. He was an incoming security advisor, and you got two FBI officials that, in your first week in the job, they come in here, they start asking you a bunch of questions. First of all, why should he have to tell them about calls he's having with foreign governments in the transition process? That's, I'm no lawyer, but that doesn't seem like it's any of their business. I mean, if I was Flynn, I'd probably tell them to go fuck themselves, or I just wouldn't tell them that because I didn't think it was pertinent. Because he didn't even know the scope of what they were asking him about. All right. So let's see. Investigators were torn. Flynn lied about the calls with Kislyak. I don't know, Comey said when asked if he believed Flynn lied. I think there is an argument to be made that he lied. It's a close one. Which means certainly no slam dunk case, but they pursued it anyways. They pursued it as if it was a slam dunk case. They pursued it, rabidly. The Justice Department sought to drop the case against Flynn, citing the newly discovered FBI documents that preceded the White House interview. Timothy Shea, the now former acting U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C., wrote in the May 7th court filing that Flynn's calls with Kislyak did not warrant either continuing that existing counterintelligence investigation or opening a new criminal investigation. That was the thing. Before Strzok tried to close, or before Strzok kept Crossfire Razor open on January 4th, 2017, the calls were to close it. Nothing to see here. Nothing wrong. And then there was that. Then Biden and all them heard about it and keep it alive. The calls were entirely appropriate on their face, Shea wrote in the filing. Biden's campaign did not respond to a request for comment. All right. So basically, the gist of this story is that we now essentially have proof that Biden and Obama were coordinating the entire effort, the biggest political crime in American history, to take down Michael Flynn, to protect themselves. So we now know that they were behind it, which means they really should be, they need to be charged. They need to be charged with treason, treason and sedition. This is unprecedented. I mean, this makes Richard Nixon and Watergate look like stealing a penny out of a tip jar. I mean, it's bad. It's bad. But anyways, like I said, if you haven't watched my episode on Obamagate, you really should go watch it. I go into a lot of detail on that. There might be a couple developments that have happened since then that aren't included, but you'll get the general gist of what the Obamagate scandal is all about. But anyways, go ahead. If you like this video, please like, share, comment, subscribe. And like I said, if you'd like to help me out, donations below. And I think that's about it for today. So I hope you guys have a good one, and I hope to see you guys back here tomorrow for some more episodes.